Hey, this is Buzz Stone with episode number 6 of AirWaves. And in this edition, we're going to be visiting a collection of antique radios. Now, it's inside a radio station, but the owners have asked me not to identify it out of caution because it is a valuable collection. But if you like antique radios, stick around. It's up next on AirWaves. They've got a great antique radio collection here in the lobby of the station. The majority of these were donated by an estate, but over the years, as people have come in and enjoyed the display, other people have made donations. But some of these are actually in operating condition. And you can see we got some really old classic stuff here. RCA Radiola 3, tube operated, and had to have the earphones in order to hear it. This is an old RCA Radiola 3. Look at the tuning coil on that thing. Pretty cool. Over here, let's see what we got. We've got a Theta model 605 table model. And I love this right here. This is an actual very early portable radio. It's an Emerson. Ooh, and this one here, it looks like somebody plugged it in and it got hot. It's a Hoffman radio, table model, 1946 vintage, as well as that other table model I showed you just a while ago. That was also a 1946. Coming on around here. Now we're getting way back in time. This is an RCA Radiola 2. I'm sorry, that's not what this is. Yes, it is. Radiola 2. Approximately 1923 vintage. Once again, in great condition. And there's the headphones that you had to have in order to listen. And here's the antenna for the radio. So when you bought the radio, you got the antenna too. But as you can see, they're in very good condition. Okay. So we come over to here. This is another RCA table model. This is a 1941 vintage. And there's the speaker sitting on top. And moving over here, we got an old Philco. This is a console 7-tube receiver. This is the early 1930s model. You notice the grill cover there for the speaker has like a forest scene into it, sewn into it there. That's actually a fabric material. Here's another very early model table radio. This is an Acme Flex table model of unknown vintage, but I love the old horn speaker there. And this has the tabletop antenna as well, about twice the size of the previous one I showed you. Over here we have a Fried Eismann model NR5 table model. This is about 1924-25 vintage. And there's the speaker sitting on top of it. We have another console model. This is the 1937 Grinnell. It's made by General Household Utilities of Chicago. There's another great classic. This thing here is, I mean, this is immaculate. I mean, it looks almost brand new. This is an American Bosch Magneto Corporation radio, model 28, and it was built in 1928. But I believe this top opens. Yes, it does. And down inside there, you can see the tubes. And that's the antenna wire coiled up there. But this is a really beautiful radio. Definitely don't make them like that anymore. It's really a piece of furniture as much as it is radio. Another table model. This is a Stewart Warner Corporation out of Chicago. It's a model 205 GA, approximately late 40s. And next to that, we've got a Crosley Radio Corporation. This is a model 56TX table radio, 1946, vintage. And here's another really cool antenna. Don't have a make model of that. And over here, another very early radio. This is a Crayford table model. It's of unknown vintage, but I'm guessing it was sometime in the 1920s. And there's the speaker sitting on top of it. You see this radio here, you see a lot of modern reproductions of this style of radio. Usually now, though, they got a cassette deck in the side of them, or CD player or something. But it's cool. I call it a cathedral radio, just because it reminds me of windows in a cathedral, the shape of it. And let's see. This is really cool. It's not a radio, but this is an early telephone switchboard. Check this out. Is that cool or what? I mean, can you just see Sarah from Mayberry sitting at this, taking calls from Andy or Barney? Of course, back then they had patch cables, and you would patch one line to another one to make a connection. You know, no automation. It was all done manually. Here's the patch cables down here. And the dial. And here's the microphone that Sarah would speak into. And of course she'd be wearing a headset to hear the caller. Pretty cool. This over here is another very early radio. It's a Westinghouse. I don't have any information though as to the model number or the vintage of it, but I would say that's probably 20s as well. Walk back into the break room of the station. We have another table radio here. This is very similar to one of the previous ones I showed you. And again, if you lifted up the top, you could see the tubes in there. But what's cool is it even has a radio, a table that the radio sets on. This is a matching table for the radio, and that's the speaker you see there in the middle of the table. Really cool. And then we've got a couple other console radios. Now this one here, I've heard it on. I know this one operates. But what's really cool is the Silvertone. It's with Sears. It's a model R301 9-tube receiver with tuning eye. And that's that tube right there in the middle, which would change color as you tuned. This had AM and shortwave bands on it. It's approximately 1938 vintage. Another cool thing about these is you would actually put the call letters of the radio stations on these keys, these push buttons. So it was a push button radio. And just looking at it here, I see from right to left, I see WIST, which was in Charlotte, North Carolina. Then WBT, also Charlotte. WRAL, which was Raleigh. WSB, Atlanta. WLW, Cincinnati. WWNC, which is in Asheville, North Carolina. And so, yeah, really cool. Like I say, I had seen this radio working years ago, so as far as I know, it still does. And finally, we got another console radio here. This thing is beautiful, in excellent condition. It's a Philco. It's model 42-1012 10-tube receiver, AM, FM, and shortwave. Vintage 1942. And this door here lifts up, and there you have the actual dial. And again, this has the push buttons, and they too have the frequency, or excuse me, the call signs of the radio stations above it. And there's a button there I see for shortwave and also FM. Yes. They actually had FM back in 1942. I don't think there was too many people listening to it at that time, but it was around. Hi, this is Buzz again, sitting here at my video editing station. I hope you enjoyed our previous video of the antique radio collection. Some really cool radios there. And we've got plenty more coming up on AirWaves, so stay tuned. If there's anything you'd like to see in future episodes, just let me know in the discussion panel below, and I'll do my best to get it on for you. But remember, please subscribe, like, and share the videos, and I'll see you down the dial.